Hey, this is Captain Eddie. This is not a costume, it's a uniform. I ain't happy about it. So I'm going to take it off in a few moments so we can chat about wood turning. All I want you to do is stick around and watch. I'll get it right there. Watch. Hey, if you're with me regularly, we've been fighting a few dragons lately. Now, I have to wear that every day for 6 to 8 hours, which means I got to be awake that long. But I can't turn my head to the left at all. I can turn it to the right, and when I do, I hear a crunch. So something's broken in my neck. And next couple of days, we'll get it looked at. Tomorrow, the carburetor gets looked at, and then after that, and then after that, and then after that. But hey, I'm an old ammo troop. I am. Spent more than 4 years in the Air Force and was ammo troop the entire time. Well, a little bit of time to maybe do something else. But I was a true ammo troop. And you know, without ammo troops, that's just another ugly airline. So we're going to talk about a few things today. I've been looking at Pinterest. P-I-N-T-R-E-S-T, Pinterest. I'm not looking to buy any dresses or hair bows. I don't have any hair bows or anything like that. I went looking for Christmas ornaments because Worldwide Woodturners has got a challenge going right now to turn Christmas ornaments. Yeah, and we're going to run a challenge until November 1st. That gives you time to get it in for the challenge. But then part of the rule is you have to give it away. Yeah, you have to give it away. Not to your wife. You got to give it to somebody else. So that's the Christmas challenge. So I went there looking for ideas on ornaments. I mean, where do you go? You can't go to the grocery store and look at them. So I went to Pinterest and got to looking around. Well, I typed in wood turning, and then I typed in ornaments, and then something else, then something else. I didn't believe the stuff I got. I mean, we got to talk about this. We got some stuff out there. Now, you can buy a lot of things from there, but you're creative. You're a wood turner, right? Okay, you're one of the most creative people in the entire world. You don't have to buy all this stuff. It's going to give you an idea of what you can build in your shop to get your job done. How about that? And I've received a lot of ideas from newspapers and magazines and videos and all over the years, but a lot of them don't go into the detail the way you can capture the photograph and to get out your compass and figure out, well, that's 3 inches and that's 5 inches and that's 7 inches, to get an idea of where you're going to go. And that's what I did. I created a Blackhawk sharpening rig from photographs of other sharpening rigs. Took a little playing, and I contacted David Ellsworth and asked him for the math. And David gave me the math. You want the math? Go to my website, eddiecastelin.com. Go on sharing information. There's a whole list of them on one side. And look at the sharpening pieces. Now, you'll find one about how to sharpen the Ellsworth gouge. Guess what? It was written by David Ellsworth. Yeah, he told me I can distribute it. He doesn't want me to sell it, so I don't sell it. I put it out there for you to use to sharpen your tools and get a happier effect. So, but I was looking on there, and I designed a Blackhawk sharpening rig from seeing a photograph. And it took me 6 months to get the math right, but I just wasn't going to pay $150 for a rig that I could build for, a lot less money than that. So I went to Pinterest and started looking at a couple of things. I found a couple of ball jigs because I'm always getting this asked, all right, I'm going to turn this ball, what do I do? Well, I know about putting it between two half-round tennis balls or half a tennis ball, squeeze it, chuck and all that stuff. Then I got to thinking, there's got to be an easy way to hold that ball in order to take that last knob off. See, I can take one knob off the outside. That's easy peasy. But the one on the inside heading on the chuck end, I can get close, but if you get too close, I'll break it off. I'll tear wood out. So when you get close, cut it off. I don't like using the saw. I cut it off. And this jig, and here's a picture of it, will hold the ball, and you can finish off the end. I got a couple of photographs of it. Talk about easy peasy, and you can make it fit over your one-way, your Talon, your Jet, whatever light chuck you have. You can make new jaws to do this with, and you need to look at that too. Get you some good, and this is scrap, cabinet grade plywood. Not a lot of holidays and voids and footballs and all in them. It's a little bit better than that. So look for some scraps from your local mill shop. They'll give you the scraps. Either that, I gotta burn them, and get those and make those jaws. Now, also, while it was in there, I'm looking at ornaments, Christmas ornaments. Take a look at this thing. This is inside out with some painted areas, and then when you do one part, and then you flip it around, you finish it up, you get the other part. Boy, you talk about some nice stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what worldwidewoodturners.org puts up between now and 3rd of November, election day, because we're not going to be doing that day anyway. But that's what you can look at. Also, what did I find on interest? I found a sharpening jig for your gouge, to do the Blackhawk type sharpening jig. Why is that important? I get calls every day from woodturners, every single day, and I don't mind it. What else I got to do? Sit around and grow hair? But they all kind of get back to the same question. How do you sharpen? How do you use? How do you keep it sharp? Do I need to go buy these expensive tools? All right, I'm going to go right down that road quickly. You don't need expensive tools. You need good tools. Good tools don't come in kits and sets. They just don't. You need to decide what your weapon of choice will be and buy that tool. My weapon of choice will go out today. If I went out and turned today, the 3 tools on top of my table would be my thin parting tool, my 3/8 inch deep V bowl gouge, deep V, but I'm going to have a combination Ellsworth Adversary grind on it. And the next one would be my 3/4 inch round scraper. Common tools, just common tools. Why? I can replace the edge quickly because I'm using jigs for all of them. So I'm not throwing a lot of steel on the floor, because that's like tools thrown away. Number 2, I don't have to pay a lot of money for those 3 tools. Number 3, you get a kit of tools, sometimes they can't tell you what all those things do. They're steel with handles. And please, don't go to that discount center or that retail store and think those guys are wood turners and know what they're talking about. They are salesmen. Salesmen. I hope no, someone's going to get offended by me, but most of them are salesmen. I'll sell you anything as long as I can sell you something. Okay? My dad was that way. He was an awesome salesman. He'd often say, if they think they're getting a deal, they're getting a deal. All right. And then I had some other things that I saw. Here's some slides about how gouges should or should not be cut. Now, somebody's wrong. You see on that Ellsworth, they got the little dip. See that little dip that goes down from the tip? That's a built-in catch. That's built in. That's a tooth. That's like an eagle beak. It's going to grab. I like those sound effects. All right. You don't want it to be like that. You want it to be curved over. And who controls that? You do. You're on a grinder. You control it. You can shape that thing any way you want. And I've got a couple of how you do that. Now, in shaping it, if you use a jig every time, now this is a picture of a commercial jig that's available, and you put it in a rider or a holder. Now get this. You can build this jig in your shop with parts you have around the shop or from the hardware store. And you put it together to fit your grinder. And you make sure you get the math just the way David Ellsworth has it. You have the carrier, oversized. You have a carrier, and you have a bolt that goes out the bottom of the carrier. That bolt is 6 inches long, and it sits on about a 45-degree angle. Is that extremely critical? No. You grind it. If you don't like the way it cuts, you bend the bar to change it. You bend it out to get a shallower grind. You bend it in to get a sharper grind. And I'm talking the angle from the top of the flute, the top of the tool, down to the bottom of the flute, okay? There's no measure this angle and all that. It's the angle in the steel. And some grinders are confusing about that. They say, if you want to cut a 40-40, you put it on such and such. I think I'll come back to that a little bit later on. Yeah, that's a whole nother subject. Um, and then I got some pictures of how you grind a gouge and put the, I'm calling it the Ellsworth Adversary grind on it. The Ellsworth grind, which is an English grind, goes right up on a point, and that's what you're cutting with. But guess what? The steel behind that, that doesn't do any cutting at all, anytime. It doesn't cut. It's on that bar for the shape of the bar and for the strength of the flute. That's it. So if you're not using it, why do you have it? You can't go around a tight corner with it, that's for sure, because you got all that heel sticking out the back. And how much do you cut with when you're using a gouge? See if we get this right. It's about that much. You get an idea of it? Yeah, about that. Not that much. Now a little bit thicker. I have them sharpened with 1/8 of an inch, and that's adequate. Why? Because I know how to tool slices. Now, don't try it right off the bat. Go to 1/4 inch grind face on it. Try that a couple of times. If you're happy with it and you can learn how to tool rides, then you're going to be able to cut better. Learn how to tool rides. That was a quick statement, wasn't it? You don't learn how to tool rides. You learn how to tool slices. A good friend of mine, Mark Slade's got videos out there all the time. We call him the wood slicer. He's not the wood butcher or the wood plower. He's the wood slicer. He can show you how you take that tool, go in, kick in a little bit of angle, and do a slice. Little curlicues come off. There's guys that pay to get curlicues on the floor in their shop. I want to bring them a bucket of them so I can see. But you can get a better cut when you chuck up something like a 2x4. My buddy Ronnie likes turning with 2x4 because if it goes wrong, you burn it. Put it in a barbecue pit. But if it turns out right, you've cut in the ugliest, most difficult wood there is to cut. And if you sliced it right, you get a great finish. But you don't tear it up, you don't tear it out, you don't put divots in it and all that. It's a great learning experience. So check up a block of 2x4, not square 2x4, all right? Let's knock it down to be, or not rectangle, knock it down to a square. And if you're really cautious, knock the corners off, make it 8-sided. It cuts better. All right. Once you take that piece, you chuck it up and you play with that tool. Don't worry about what you're making. It's here. Get in there, turn it, and cut and cut and cut. And learn what downhill cut and downhill cut's all about, because you can't go downhill and uphill. That doesn't work. I don't care what the guy on YouTube showed you. Between you and I, it ain't gonna work. All right. And I told you a little something about the angle of your gouge when you sharpen it up. You'll see on David Ellsworth's sheet, if you don't have to, go to it, eddiecastellan.com, on the sharing information. He'll show you the angle. He likes between 55 and 65 degrees coming down the front of that tool. To me, it works very smoothly. You can do it. Well, if you don't know what that angle is, don't go for the junk. Go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get you a nice gauge. I like a protractor. I got one here, look. This thing right here. And that way you can get it on it. When you set your gauge up, when you set your rig up, you go to that. Now, the beauty of setting a rig up is once you set it up and you sharpen that tool, you shape the tool first on the rough side. You come over and you sharpen it up a different side, finer cut. When you come back, if you put it back in the jig exactly where it's supposed to be, and a bucket for the jig doesn't move, then it's one pass and you've sharpened it up and it's ready to go back to the wood. If you go sharp, 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 a whole lot of tool companies love you because you're throwing it on the floor. I don't love it, so I just want to make one pass, get new teeth. There's teeth on the end of that blade. Get new teeth on it and go back to slicing again. If I leave it dull, I'm going to tear the wood out. And if I get it too sharp, that isn't going to last very long. So let's go to happy medium, okay? A couple other things about a ball and how to hold it. Got that on there. Oh, a lot of folks talk about the Longworth Chuck. It's a great idea. Guy created it was a great idea. But if you can't build a Longworth Chuck, take a look at this one. A couple of pieces of plywood put together on a faceplate, and you got these bars you lock down. If you make the bars right, the little pocket on the end of them, you can bring it over the edge of your piece. This is brain dead simple. And if that plywood is flat, your piece comes out flat. And remember, you only want a couple hundred RPMs on this. If you think you're going to put it on this and crank it to 3,000 RPMs, I'm going to read about you on the front page of the paper tomorrow. Keep it slow. You don't need any quicker than that. Got a few other things here. I'm going to look at them. But in a minute, stick with me. There's a commercial break coming up right now. Time for a commercial break. I try not to be commercial on these things. In fact, I won't sell my videos, so you don't have to put that monetized thing in the front and click. You know, I hope not. I don't want it there, and I hope it doesn't end up there. But this whole thing is financed by Big Eye Productions. www.eddiecastelin.com. That's right. And that's where you find cutters, templates, bars, and all that other stuff. That keeps us going. That really is. There's no big bucket of gold at the end of the rainbow. Wood turner helping a wood turner. That's about all it is. So if I'm going to help you, go there. And while you're there, you can find a place to send me a message, ship a bucket of money, whatever you got. You know, we're there. www.eddiecastelin.com. And now, to our regular programming. Okay, get the commercial out of the way. Gotta do it. You need the money. All right. On the Pinterest, I also found a nice steady rest. Now, this is something you can build in your shop. Take a look at it. This is plywood. Now, here's my advice. You want to have the inside circle, the maximum swing of your lathe. The maximum swing of your lathe. Plus 2 inches. Overall. Why? Well, you're going to want it to sit flat on the bed of your lathe, and you want to be able to put the rollers up to a common center. And once you cut the outside out, you cut the outside, and then you put it down on the bed of your lathe and you see where it's going to be. Then you line up you get a center point, and you line up your rollers to come to that point. Yeah, you lay this out, and you put it in. As easy as it can be, really in. No magic. It took me all day to build mine out of steel. It'd take me less time to build one out of wood. If you're looking for a way to have a holding chuck to flip around and get the back end, this is a good way to do it. Especially if you're doing a vase or something like that that could do a wobbling or a long stem. Oh, I mean, that's easy. There's a couple other versions of them that'll let you do that. I mean, this one uses string, not the balls. This is pretty nice. I saw Adversary do spinels using a string steady, and he used the old braided fishing line with wax on it. He had the thing in the center and went around it, and then went over this nail and went around it, and then went down to this nail and went around it, and over this nail and went around it, and just went around, and wax was on it, and that piece didn't move. That piece, okay, that was one of his barbels, which is about as thick as a pencil in a lead pencil, thick as the lead in a lead pencil, which is graphite, okay. 1/8 of an inch with little barbels and balls and a couple of teacups and stuff carved into it. It was 14 inches long. No wobble. He had steady rest on it, made on string with wax. Beautiful idea. Now, other things I saw on there, a bracelet chuck. I like to turn bracelets. There's a secret to it. I've got a video on it on my YouTube channel. And you can make a lot of points with bracelets. I start off with a 2 3/8 inch hole in a bracelet. Why? Because by the time you finish it, it's going to be 2.5 inches, and your wife can get a hand in it. Now, if you make it too small, he's going to piss off the Pope. If she can't put it on, ain't working for you. So if she wears a bracelet, go measure it. Go see what the inside diameter is. That's why you want to be. So you get a piece, and you hold it in a chuck like this, and you do the inside, and you get it all finished up, and you can flip it around if you choose to finish it out. You get all the inside finished and coated. You pull it out of there and you put it on a mandrel that you turn in your shop, a wooden mandrel. I don't believe in buying Elvis toys, okay? You put it on this wooden mandrel, and you can tap it on, and you can finish the outside, shape it, put burn marks in it, put grooves in it, put epoxy in it, anything you want, because it's being held right there. Play with the idea. The mandrel that you use must be a very slight slope. So you can push it on. You can, once you got the inside finished, doesn't matter if you put a little wax there to make it go on, because you got to get it off. Or tape. Be careful of the tape. Don't use duct tape. But you slide it on there. You can line it up and do all the decorating you want. Now, if you don't want to line it up and you want to decorate it on an angle, whatever, you just kick it a little bit, and then you cut the angle in it, and you take a wire and you burn it, and it's art. Art's right here. Okay. Now, that's like that. And then I got this. I gotta ask you about this. You see this bolt thing with the split nut? Do you know of a place where I can get more details on how to do this? I think I can play and put it together, but I'm not really sure. And there's me a lot of, well, I got time, but I really wonder if there's an email out there, or not an email, a YouTube out there on how to do this. I want to look at the other half of my list. Stick around. Not a lot left, but if you're sticking with me, you're sticking with me. Tools. I had a call this morning from a guy that said I should go buy this brand name tool because I saw it on YouTube last night, and the guy said all my tools are made by, and that's where it's got to go because they have the, and you can't live with anything else. That's a bunch of bull. It really is. People have been turning woods for a long time without that high cost steel and all that. I told you earlier, buy a good tool, but you don't really need those expensive ones. Just get a good tool. Don't waste your time. And said the guy this morning said, what brand of tight bond glue should I use? I don't know. What are you using it for? Is it going to see any moisture? Has it got time to cure? And you're doing a segmented piece and you can leave it sit overnight? All those questions have to be answered before you decide what glue to use. And then one guy said, how about a hot glue gun? I'm old enough that when hot glue came out, yes, my age, my dad used it to fix everything. I use it to fix nothing. I will use it for a contact piece, for a jam chuck. I never cut on one. Okay, and I am collecting photos. I always collect photos. If you turned out something, remember what you do is the best work in the world. You turn something, I'd like to see what it is. We use it on worldwidewoodturners.org. We use it on our newsletter called Turning Point. We use it on a Wednesday evening Worldwide Woodturners program brought to you on Zoom. It's free. If you go to worldwidewoodturners.org, there's a link to get to the website for the program on Wednesday nights, Central Daylight Time. Do the math. For 2 hours, we talk wood turning. Nothing else. No sponsors. No sponsorship. No, this is the brand of tennis shoe I wear. And my glasses are made by Bob and stuff. No, that's not permitted. We're not going to do it. We're going to talk wood turning. And if you need help with something, that's where you come to get the help. Because you're asking wood turners. So if you've had a problem with something, the finishes. We talk about finishes a lot. The way I look at something on that is, if I spend the day cutting on a bowl, shaping it up, bringing it down to perfect shape, bring it down, sanding just right, why am I going to want to rush the finish? Think about that for a minute. I got hours and hours and hours put into a piece, and I want a one-coat finish? I don't think I do. I think I want to put the time in my finish so my piece looks ultimately beautiful, which you get with a great finish. It's more durable. It's prettier from a view or anybody looking at it. And you can make it a hard finish, a soft finish, a bright finish, a dull finish, a wearable finish where you can touch it, or an unwearable finish. that you really shouldn't touch. So finishing is critical, and we get a lot of questions on that. A lot of folks asking about that. Two more. A fellow called me today wanting to order negative rake cutters for his carbide tools. I didn't understand the word, the description until he started saying, I need this, NR, I need this, NR, and this, NR. What's, I said, you gotta educate me. He said, well, those are negative rakes. And I'd break his heart and tell him, I don't and won't be selling negative rake scrapers, cutters. Why? I'm weird, okay? I know it's a product that we should all look at. Maybe it's a product we should use. But it came about in the last couple of years of a great marketing plan with guys saying, I can't live without mine. If you cut an epoxy, you got to have this. I've done epoxy, I've done corian, I've done combinations of corian, aluminum corian, brass corian, bracket corian, copper corian, pewter, corian and epoxy, corian and wood, epoxy with all those same mixes in it. And I haven't used a negative rake scraper yet. I haven't. My mentor showed me that when you go in with a scraper, it should be doing just that, scraping. So if you go in with that scraper straight in, do you know what a plow does to a field? You do? Okay. It, good sound effect on a plow does that. You go in the regular scraper straight in, and there's no hinge, no flex in it, you're going to plow. Because a lot of times guys think a scraper is a way to shape your piece. No, it's not. It's a scraper. It does a final cut. It does a final finish. Going on an angle. I'm right-handed. I'll put the left-hand shoulder down, and I'm going on an angle and moving along. Why? I'm taking a cut about that big. And if I start to get a catch, this little device right here is going to relieve my catch. So if I kick it up on an angle a little bit and I start going in, if the wood hits a hard spot, it's going to flip a little bit. Relieve the catch. Relieve the scar, whatever. Try it. Just try it. When you do try it with a well-sharpened and toned up scraper, and doesn't have to be negative rake, then you'll find out that it's a great finish, great way to finish the piece. And as I said, it's made to finish the piece. I've seen great turners turn with it, but remember, they were great turners long before they got that. And the next is a 40-40 grind. Now Ron Brown's best, is a good friend. And Ron Brown comes up with some nifty stuff. Ron Brown sent me a rig to where I can set up my Black Hawk rig with this template, and using an adjustable rig, I can sharpen my tool 40-40 with a simple swing and a gauge. Now, if you can't live without a 40-40, this is a way to go. Why? You see all these people on YouTube and videos and all that showing you how they go over and they shape this 40-40. You got a 40-degree table, you got 40-degree lines, and you have to rotate the tool within those lines on that table. Think about it. That's tap dancing, chewing gum. It's not easy. So, if you're using a jig, you can get it down. But remember what I said earlier, if you need a 40-40. I don't know anybody that absolutely can't live without the 40-40. The Irish grind, which is called the Ellsworth grind, and a couple other names, gives you a decent cutting edge. And you can roll that edge through a lot of things. And one-to-one demonstration, the guy said, I can turn a corner with this that you can't turn with your Ellsworth. I could turn every corner he turned with by slicing with my Ellsworth with a good cut, a good grind on it that I did on my machine, not hand holding it and throwing steel on the floor. Like I said earlier, they get their tools free. You don't. All right, that was my list for today. Okay, I ran a little bit long, but we had some things to chat about, some things to cover. And until I get back in the shop, this is what I'm going to do. I'll find the things we need to talk about. I'll make a video. We can chat on it. If you ever need me, call the number that's in the end of the video. and I'll help you out. I'm here. I don't charge you anything. And if you want to join us on Worldwide Woodturners, it's Wednesday evenings, 6:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and we always plan a demonstration, and we have Q&A, we have gallery, and we have woodturners. I hope to see you there. Until then, I'm sitting here praying I can get out and start making some shavings. You take care, be good, and above all else, please be safe. In case my wife asked, I had my collar on the whole time we were doing this. Okay, she keeps an eye on me. So, okay, together, I had the collar on the whole, and just in case she asked, because you know what happens if you lie to your wife, you ain't gonna have a happy life.